All right, welcome everybody. I'm Betsy Muller, and we are talking about exploring reset for the new year. And I'm very excited to be doing this because I am exploring my own personal reset. I am never done. And people say, well, can't I be done? No. So, my history with this topic, when I started my practice in 2005, I was struggling with my waistline. I was aware of how waistlines were really involved in health. And I came up with this program called Winning at Waist Management. I even wrote a book, Winning at Waist Management. And it was all fine and good. But I was in Weight Watchers. It worked for me. And it's funny, back then I was fasting 1 day a week and somehow I stopped. And then I went into menopause and then COVID hit. And then, my belly just started growing and growing. And I'd look in the mirror and I'd get pissed off because I work out every day. And I thought, well, all the stuff that I've ever done isn't working and it must just be menopause. So that's a belief. Menopause, bad. And maybe I was kidding myself that I was eating healthy and not really eating as healthy as I could. But I was curious. That's a good place to start. Be curious about where you're at. So, in the last few months, my story has changed, surprisingly enough. And so I'll share some of that with you today. I wore a glucose monitor for a month. Why did I do that? Do I have diabetes? No. But I had a high fasting glucose number that my doctor was concerned about. And she told me, that awful woman, that bitch, she told me to exercise more. And I said, I can't. I'm already working out 1 day every day for an hour, sometimes longer, plus walking the dogs a couple miles a day. I don't have time for more exercise. And then I thought, well, maybe I can do something better. Wearing that monitor changed everything for me, changed my belief system, and it changed my sense of hope for what's possible this year for me. So we'll talk about that a little bit more, but I want to inspire you, whether it's cleaning your clutter or getting your physical health in order. This is a good time of year to do it because you've got support, right? Everybody's doing it. Everybody's thinking about new things to do or self-improvements. And I want to be here to get you launched in a good way. All right. So I think I have a presentation for you. Let's see if we can put that up. Here we go. So we're going to explore a reset for the new year with EFT. Okay, basic ground rules before I launch into anything. This is a wellness program. I am not a doctor. I am not a therapist, but I've had a lot of training in emotional freedom techniques and trauma informed care for people. So just remember, you have to take the responsibility for your actions. And so please do that. And this is not a replacement for traditional medicine. So this is an add-on. This is a complementary. It is pretty safe, but you should consult with your own practitioner, especially if you're going to try fasting. Okay, be careful with that because not everybody should fast. I will talk about fasting today, but that is a decision that you want to make sure you do safely. Okay, and fasting isn't the only way to get your results, but I will use the examples of fasting because I think it was meaningful for my breakthrough. Okay, what are we going to cover today? For those that aren't already familiar, I'll do a brief overview of EFT, how it calms your stress and eases change. And even if you've been exposed to EFT before, I want you to really think now about how it works with changes. I want to give you a curious approach to what's driving your specific situation because it's different for everybody. Okay, so we will be doing some exercises to help you get more information about the drivers that are keeping you from your goal. Okay. We're going to talk about lessons from my fasting and glucose monitor experiment because they're good examples of how you can make change work for you. And then I'm going to give you some practice exercises and stay till the end because there are some special offers for you. I'm very excited. I'm announcing a couple programs that are starting in 2 weeks, and there are only 8 people allowed per program. So I'm trying to keep them small so I can really take care of the specifics with the group. So I want you to consider that. This is being recorded today too. So if you bring stuff up here, the chat box won't show in the recording, but if you say something on this seminar, it will be recorded. So I'm just reminding you, I want you to know that. All right, let's have a quick experience if we could. Maybe I'll take my stop share off. All right. So the experience I want us to have before we got started today, I invited those that were here early to start thinking about specifics because everybody gave me a little bit of information when you signed up about what you're wanting to work on for your reset for the new year. And it's okay that all of you have different things. In fact, it should be different for each of you. But 2 things that I want you to really get a handle on is being specific and being measurable. Is there a way to measure it? So for example, if you really are working on weight, that can be the scale. But as most of us who have been on this journey before know that it's more than just a scale. It's how your clothes fit. It's how you feel when you look in the mirror. It's how your body feels when you work out. It's more stuff. So be clear about what you're thinking about. And the other thing I want to encourage you to do is also know the why. Why are you even bothering with this? Okay. Because the why can drive you in the right direction. And that's important before we get into the things that are getting in the way, right? The why is the motivator. So let's begin today to use tapping to help you clarify the why. And if you already know the why, that's good too. I gave you the questions before we got on together because this is important. Okay. So everybody have a pencil and pen today too? I'll give you a little time to write it down. So write down, if you have a specific, write it down. Write it down on your paper. And if there's a way to measure it, write that down. And if you're not sure yet, that's okay. I want to help you. All right. So let's do a little bit of tapping together, if we would. Let's begin with our oxytocin connection. Tap and breathe. So join me, if you will. Tap the side of your hand. Make your smile. I want to see lots of smiles out there. Even if you're not on camera, I'm going to feel your smile. Okay. Deep breath in. And exhale with a sigh. Oh. And smile again. Deep breath in. And exhale with a sigh. Oh. So did I tell you guys I just tested positive for COVID? I'm feeling pretty good. Thanks to tapping. Deep breath in, smile. And exhale fully with a sigh. Oh. Yeah. Now I think I have a mild case. Thank goodness. I'm supposed to go to Florida next week. So I'm like, please help me get better. All right. Now we're going to tap about that goal. So whatever your goal is, if you want to repeat this silently, change the words. I'm going to say my goal. Or, yeah, I would say my goal. Even though I have this goal. And I'm not really sure how to measure it yet. And maybe it's not specific enough. I deeply and completely accept myself and the journey I'm on today. Even though I have this goal, and it's still coming into focus. And I could probably improve it. I deeply and completely accept myself and all the reasons I'm choosing to even think about it. Even though I have this important goal that hasn't quite come into focus yet, I'm choosing to accept myself completely and to forgive myself for all the reasons I haven't accomplished it yet, and to open my heart to all the possibilities of being specific and intentional. Let the healing begin. Okay, top of the head. All the reasons this is important to me. Eyebrow points, all the ways I haven't been able to accomplish it yet. Side of the eyes. What's getting in my way? Under the eyes. How do I measure this from one day to the next? Under the nose. Is there an end point, or does it go on forever? Under the lip. Who cares? Who will benefit? Does it go beyond me? Collarbone points. What do I need to do? What do I need to change? Under the arm. How do I make this work and get what I want? How does it work? What's in the way? All right. Take a moment. Hands on the heart now. Just breathe in and exhale. So I want to give you just a couple minutes on your paper to write down anything that came up while we were tapping about your why, your specific measurement. And I'm not checking your paper. Anything goes. Write it all down. Capture it. All right. And if something new came up, maybe you've completely shifted goals. It's completely okay too. All right. Wow, there's some good stuff in the chat. Let me see. Yeah, good job, Mary. You're going to the closet and the bathroom instead of the whole house. Good for you. Oh, and Tori, pain-free. That's definitely worth it. Yeah. And decrease eating sugar. That's a good one. Oh, Barbara wants to go to bed earlier. Yay, Barbara. Yeah. Eating healthy food, clean one room. Okay, Roseanne, you got to pick a room. Otherwise, we can't measure it, right? Yeah. You can always exceed your goals, right? Yeah. Yeah. All right. So where do we go from here? How's everybody doing? Does anybody want to share anything? Okay. You guys got some good stuff here. So let's go back. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to share. So my initial was home and health was the goal, and you said too big. So yes, it's better if I pick one spot up, because my style is a little bit here, a little bit there, and nothing gets done. So if I focus, that will be helpful to me. But what makes me want to change it more, and this is a big personal share, is shame. I'm a single woman and I would like to be in a relationship. If I brought a man into my house, they'd turn around and run and think I had major mental issues.
Yeah.
So that's why I need it cleaned up.
Yeah. Well, good. That's a good why. That can fuel more activity towards your goals. So it's okay to feel shame. And actually, if you feel shame around it, that's the perfect in for the EFT to get started and forgive yourself. And then you can move on. Very good. Very good. All right. Let's see. All right. Let's go back to the presentation. All right. So I imagine whatever your situation, whatever you pulled up about this, there are a range of emotions. We don't live in one emotional state all the time. And if you've been doing EFT for a while, you know how it flows, it morphs. You can go from sadness to anger to back to sadness to rage and loathing and boredom and, distraction. And eventually some joy can bubble up, but it's not linear. And especially, I was talking with someone this week about grief. Oh my goodness, grief is not linear. So we just have to flow with it. We have to recognize what we're feeling and deal with it in the moment. So I want to talk with you a little bit about stress in the brain and actually change process too, because this all goes together. If you've been in a presentation with me before, I apologize, this might be a repeat, but let's go through it anyway. And so you have a limbic system, a nervous system, and that brainstem connects with stressful things from the outside world, and it activates this little almond-shaped thing in the brain, that little orange dot called the amygdala. And that's a powerful place because that sends a signal to the body, to the prefrontal cortex, which is your thinking and problem solving and verbal brain. When that signal goes to the prefrontal cortex, you may lose up to 80% of the blood flow in this very high level functioning part of your brain. It checks out. So you have trouble talking, you have trouble thinking, you have trouble getting organized because all that energy from up there goes into the body to help you run or fight or maybe just shut down. But that's not a good thing. Okay. Then in addition to that, your amygdala encourages the stress hormone cortisol to go up. The cortisol is there to help us run and fight. All right. And long-term activation of cortisol causes all sorts of health problems. Maybe you're already dealing with some of them. Sleep interruptions, mood changes, pain, inflammation, confusion, and overwhelm. So we don't want to have long-term cortisol elevation. We want to be able to operate in a better way. So what is EFT? It is the way to access the body's bioelectrical system to neutralize the stress response. And, trying to change things in your life, your patterns, your habits can be stressful. If you've ever made big changes in your life, especially changing your food intake and the kind of food you eat, you notice there are cravings. You're in a pattern that doesn't want to move. It wants to stay the way it's at. And you got to do a few things to shake it up, to reset it. EFT is a good one. So emotional freedom techniques, that's what EFT stands for. It naturally calms the nervous system. It balances the body's bioenergetic system. And light tapping on specific meridian points is how this is accomplished, combined with words to be specific about what's going on with the problem. There are many studies that have been completed on the effectiveness of EFT. I'm not going to go into all of them today, but if you're curious and you want to know more, the energypsych.org research landing page is the page that I tell my students to go to. There's always new studies being added there, and that's a good place to read about the cortisol study and the craving study and the functional MRI studies and all that. So one of the studies, I think about half of you who are with me today mentioned health and weight loss as specific areas of interest So because of that, I'll probably be putting more emphasis on those things today, but that doesn't mean your problem isn't relevant. We can take care of almost, well, just a very wide range of issues with emotional freedom techniques. So I want you to be hopeful. I don't know how everybody resolves in the long term, but it's a good place to start. It's a good self-care process to have on board, and also to develop experience working with it with a group or on a wide range of things is a very healthy thing to do. That's why I love groups. There's something else that happens in group, and this has been studied, and it's something called borrowing benefits. When we tap together as a group, it amplifies the results. And so when I talk about us all tapping together and doing some follow-up from today with a group, you can expect that to even further your results. So get a tapping buddy, tap with me on Mondays. We have a Monday group at 1 o'clock, and I am going to be announcing at the end of this call some new groups that are going to be forming on Wednesdays, midday and an evening group that you can be part of. And they will be very small groups because I want to be able to get specific with you. They might actually be more effective than doing one-on-one coaching with me. But the thing is, you give up some of your confidentiality to do that. So I'm always careful. Everybody has an agreement when we go into those kind of groups so that we make them highly functioning and highly beneficial for everybody involved. All right, let's see. So how does EFT calm your stress and help you change? So the stressful events and the setup statement, that even though statement that we use, that activates the amygdala. We make you focus on the stressful feeling when we do EFT. So we're mindfully activating the amygdala. What we also mindfully do in EFT is we use words and phrases to activate that prefrontal cortex, that purple front part of the brain where our language centers and our problem solving centers are. And there's research about words. That words activate and bring the blood flow back to this front part of the brain, and they also reduce the arousal of the amygdala. So this explains why when you talk to your friends about your problems or talk to a therapist without tapping, you feel better too. Talking is good. We're adding tapping to talking, and that adds another benefit. That creates pleasant sensations in the body. It lowers the stress hormone cortisol, and it creates a disconnect because you can talk about horrible things and feel good. It negates that previous stressful feeling as your body feels better. This is how the brain changes long term. We have a pleasant memory that goes with the old stressful event, and that's what deactivates the old neural pathway in the brain. So that going forward, we have a different kind of response in our brain. Okay. So I want to encourage and invite all of you to get really curious about what is driving your situation. And when I train practitioners, we use something called the pyramid of aspects. So I'm showing you the pyramid on this slide today because it's a good way to begin talking about this. And at the top of the pyramid, we have a presenting issue. So I want to lose 5 pounds. I want to clean my bathroom. I want to clean my master closet, or whatever it is. I want to learn something, whatever it is driving your reset for the new year. That's your presenting issue. That's on the top. And be specific. And one of the good things to do with this presenting issue is to really see if you can involve your senses in it. So the sense of smell, taste, sight, hearing, all of those things, images, and see if you can see the desired state. You definitely know where you're at right now, but there might be sensory awareness to this. And this is what you're desiring. Okay. I already encouraged you to know your why. The why is very important. And one of the tools I give my clients is a planning sheet for goals for different areas of life. but I require people to write down the why in their goal planning sheet. Oftentimes goals will fall away if the why doesn't make sense. If you're doing it for someone else and not for you, that would be a reason you might not want it on your list. I mean, it's okay to have more than one goal, but today I want you to be thinking about just one. Okay. Um, Now here's where it gets interesting. The bottom part of the pyramid. And I really want you to see if you can begin focusing on this. So in the lower corner of the pyramid on the one side, it says body and emotions. So does your goal involve the body? Does it involve feelings, attitudes, disappointment? um, you know, what's connected to the feelings? So Mary had shame involved with that issue about the clutter around the house. That's the emotion involved, and she found it already. And so that's a good place to start. But think about, there can be multiple feelings and emotions, and especially if you're working on physical stuff too, there can be feelings. So in my case, with my waistline getting bigger, number on the scale getting bigger, my clothes getting tighter, that was all body related stuff, right? And that wasn't real pleasant. And then my doctor made me angry. Yeah, that was an emotional thing. So yeah, it was all right there. And I thought I was doing everything I possibly could at that point. The other concern I have is that my mom has dementia. And when somebody tells me I have high blood sugar, and I know high blood sugar can lead to dementia down the road, I'm very concerned about that. So those were some of the things that went into my body emotion awareness situation. Okay. So body and emotions. Write down right now, if you will, on your paper in front of you, if you're aware of anything about your body or your emotions that are part of what's connected to your current state, and also what needs to change for your desired state, or what you want to change. Okay. Everybody have a drink of water if you want to. That's a good idea. All right. So there's another part of your pyramid here called behavior. That's what you do. That can be drinking. So a lot of people want to cut back on alcohol this time of year. That may be a noble pursuit. That may not even be relevant for you. Maybe you want to give up something else. Maybe you've been having too many baked goods or cookies. Maybe that's where it goes. Don't give up chocolate. That's one thing I found out by wearing a glucose monitor. Dark chocolate with almonds was very supportive to stable blood sugar. Who knew? And I love my dark chocolate, so I was really, really happy about that. I didn't have to change that behavior, but sometimes you do. Another behavior I found wasn't helping me was my very hard workouts every day of the week. It was actually putting me behind. It was teaching my body to be really hungry. And it was also keeping my metabolism stuck, believe it or not. Who knew? Only after experimenting with fasting and being very restful one day a week did I realize I unlocked a pattern that was keeping my metabolism in a low state. So those were behaviors, right? So your exercise habit is a behavior. Your writing habit is a behavior. Your cleaning or not cleaning habit is a behavior, right? So think about the things you do, that you can act using. So write down those behaviors. What are you doing now? And also what needs to change in terms of behaviors? What are some new behaviors that might support accomplishing that presenting issue, that presenting goal that you have, that change that you really want? All right. And if you don't have it all now today, you don't have to have all these answers, but I wanted to introduce you to it. All right. And finally, beliefs. Okay. What do you believe or expect? And what or who has shaped these beliefs? All right. So we all have authorities in our lives, right? And also we have experience. So your experience shapes beliefs. So if you've always failed at a certain thing, you might believe it's impossible. So if my weight didn't change for 2 years, in spite of, dieting and exercising and everything else and kept going up, I had a certain belief about that. My belief was menopause makes this hard. Menopause may have shut down everything and phooey, you know? And then I was listening to people that said you have to do intermittent fasting, um, and that will solve everything. And I wanted to believe it, but it actually didn't work for me. And I gave it a fair shot. I gave intermittent fasting about, I think, 90 days, maybe even more than that. And just phooey. I got mad about that too. Um, but beliefs, what do you believe? What's good for you? What's bad for you? Who tells you this? Who do you listen to? So if you listen to podcasts, if you listen to authorities, if you've read a bunch of books, I'm sure you'll land on some beliefs. So jot down what you believe about your problem or situation. It's hard. This is hard for me. Call it out. This is hard for you. Yeah. Or that I'll have to suffer to change this. That was one of my limiting beliefs, that I believed I'd have to suffer and that it would be horrible to change this if I really wanted to change it. Anybody ever had that thought before? Yeah, I know. Suffering is not fun. It's much easier to just stay stuck. And finally, how could a group help you? I mentioned before about borrowing benefits. Um, One of the things about a group, besides borrowing benefits, is you find out you're not alone. You get to watch other people solve their problems without you having to be involved in a highly stressful situation. But at the same time, you can support them. Helping other people is such a good feeling. That's probably why I got involved in this work. And those of you that do EFT, you might have joined because of that too. But when we work on these things in group, we witness each other, we support each other, and we get to see the magic happen in real time. So think about that for yourself. All right. So I wanted to share a little bit about what I learned during November and December about metabolism and weight loss and cravings. I definitely have a respect for everybody being unique, because they can tell you that certain things will spike your blood sugar or certain things will affect your metabolism. But it was interesting until I wore that monitor and experimented and watched what happened in my world in real time, 24/7. I didn't believe it. The other thing that I got to really understand is that cravings are in the brain. They're in the brain and they're just going to happen, but we can interrupt them. So, having cravings, and actually you need to kind of teach your body what to crave, because your body craves what you eat. And if you've been eating a bunch of crap, you just keep wanting the crap. And when you interrupt that cycle and add some new foods. So one of the foods that you'll see in this picture is broccoli coleslaw, and pomegranate seeds, cider vinegar, and olive oil. That's the basic ingredients of the broccoli slaw recipe I put up in my my blog for the holidays, and it was in my newsletter. And if you want to get at this recipe, it's still on my blog, so you can get it. This was a breakthrough recipe for me because broccoli slaw is tasty. It fills me up. I can make it ahead and always have it in the fridge. It's a good side dish for just about any time of day, and I like it. It has shallots in it too. That's one other ingredient you need to get. And I usually top it with pepitas or toasted pecans. So it's really good. It's filling. It's yummy, and there's something about it. It has a lot of fiber, and those cruciferous vegetables. Having that on board and eating it over time changed my gut. It changed me to crave this stuff instead of the other poor choices. So one of the things I learned is I can't have sweet potatoes as often as I would like. There's something about sweet potatoes in my body that doesn't work. So I stopped eating those. I stopped eating regular potatoes too, pretty much. And pasta, I got a limit, and bread, definitely not a whole lot of bread either, occasionally. So exercise makes a difference too. I was exercising all the time. And I think everybody's got to figure out what the best plan for them is, but having a rest day was part of resetting my metabolism. And that rest day meant no workout, maybe a walk, and just not stressing my body too much. So disrupting old patterns, I've learned, can lead to a breakthrough, but getting to that place can be a challenge. So I just wanted to show you the difference between a day I went to. So the one on the left is a day I went to high tea for lunch, and I had a glucose spike of like 71, I think, which was, I think that was my highest spike day. And I did work out, but it was pretty high, and the amount of time it stayed in the spike was pretty high. So that wasn't a good day. My average glucose that day was 116, as opposed to the one on the right, which is a day that I fasted. So I had an average, I'm still kind of elevated. 97 isn't too bad. But, the thing is, I didn't go way down from not eating. My body regulated. It went into the fat stores to keep my glucose level. And that's what's kind of good. That's why I lost weight, because my body knew I was resting and not eating, and it felt safe enough to just burn up some fat from my liver. And then suddenly my weight just started coming down, and I'd never seen anything like it before. It was quite incredible. I felt good too, because when you lose a couple pounds and you're eating better and you're feeling good, those aches and pains go away. All right. So let's get back to some stuff we can do together. How are you all doing out there? Everybody awake? Good. Do this. Do this. Come on, everybody do it. Come on. I want to see everybody. I know some of you have your cameras off. I know. Now stomp your feet. See, I can't even see you doing that. All right. Okay. So what do you believe about your situation? I think that's a really, that's, I guess you don't have to believe in EFT for EFT to work. That's one of the things the research has found. So I want you to be hopeful. But again, we don't know what will happen when we tap too. We just have to be hopeful about it. And we have to be willing to look at our problem and open ourselves up to the change that we really desire. Okay. So one of the things, the reason I even talk about fasting here, fasting changed everything for me. And actually, it was the belief. I thought I was going to suffer. I thought it would be really hard. I thought it would be not just like the intermittent fasting, that it would be a waste of time, maybe, and just make me angrier. The thing that surprised me most, the belief I didn't even consider, was how clear and focused my workday would be on the day I fasted. I was so clear. I was so productive. I was so in my zone. I was so zen. And I remembered back when I started my business, I used to fast on Tuesdays every week because it was my yoga day. It was just easier to fast. And I remember feeling so clear then. I'm like, why did I stop? I probably got busy, and then the family needed me to make dinner, and then I just changed that habit. Now that I'm back, so I usually do my fasting day on Wednesdays. So I'm actually fasting today. And I worked with a dietitian. I worked with her to make sure I was doing it safely, because I didn't want to do anything radical. She helped me with the intermittent fasting and how I set that up. And I was extending that intermittent fast, was going on, that was a long one. I was doing, but 7, 5. So I was doing like 17 hours of fasting and then finally eating. And I decided to do the 24-hour just as a difference. So she had me have my last meal at 6 o'clock on Tuesday and then not eat anything except liquids. So drinking clear liquids between Tuesday after dinner, which would be like 6:15, to Wednesday. I try to make it go till 7:30 sometimes so that I would get at least 24 hours in there and then have a very light dinner before I went to bed. That's the only thing I changed. So, and what kind of light dinner? I would have a bowl of lentil soup maybe, or a little Greek yogurt, something like that. Something just kind of mild and easy, not real heavy or hard on my digestion, and then go to bed. And wow, it was amazing. I couldn't even quite believe what was going on. My scale suddenly just, and my body looked better, and my tummy went down, and I felt good. And so I use that as an example of reset because I think sometimes we need to really shake ourselves up. I've been doing this for how many years? And I was really glad I was curious. So let's get curious. How can we help you get past the beliefs you're already feeling? So is there somebody out there that wants to be an example for an exercise, and then everybody else can tap along? It'll help you if you tap along to this, even if we're not working on what you're working on. So I don't know. Anybody?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Who's that?
Pamela Goulet-Blua.
And what kind of goal are you setting for yourself? Specific.
I want to stop binge eating unhealthy foods every evening.
Mm-hmm.
Is
Okay.
that specific enough, or?
Yeah. Well, let's be specific about what those foods are.
Okay, I usually eat chocolate and crackers if I have them. So I like the sweet of the chocolate with the crunchy, and then I'll sometimes have red wine with it.
Mm.
That seems to make it worse.
And how does that make you feel?
The binge eating or those foods after I eat them?
Yeah, well, after you eat them, how do you feel after you've
I'm happy that I enjoyed the treat, but then I feel guilty and lousy because I know that it's sabotaging my efforts for trying to lose weight and get my heart healthy.
Yeah. I think if we asked the peanut gallery here if anybody else has done that before, I think for me it might be nacho chips, but yeah, we could all raise our hand, and there might be certain days of the week we're more likely to do it. And we gotta get in touch with the pattern, but there is a pattern.
Yes.
So I would encourage you beyond today, and I'll give you a recording of this. You actually do the exercise with the wine and the crackers and the chocolate in front of you. One at a time, okay? At the time of day that you're most likely to really have a problem with it.
Okay.
Because you got to be in touch with the feelings, and we can try to do it right now.
Okay.
But it probably won't be as effective.
Okay.
So like I would ask you right now, on a scale of 0 to 10, how, when you think about having chocolate and crackers and a glass of wine in front of you, how much do you want it right now?
Probably around a 7 or an 8.
Yeah,
I
that's
always want the chocolate.
You always want the chocolate. Well, as I said before, chocolate might not be the problem. Chocolate.
It's not the good healthy chocolate you talked about. It's like the Atkins
Yeah.
low carb chocolates or full fat milk chocolate.
Yeah. So
Those
the dark chocolate is the one, and I've recently shifted to Lily's chocolate, which is I think it's sweetened with stevia. It's very good. They have it at Mark's here locally. So if any of you are looking for chocolate, and you can get the stevia sweetened chocolate chips too. So you can get your chocolate without all the calories and the glucose if you want.
Okay.
But anyway, let's go back. Why don't we go to your feelings of guilt? Why don't we go to that first?
Okay.
So I'm going to ask all of you guys too out there to think about the emotion that you connect with your behavior that you're trying to change. So for me, there was a lot of anger, I know, in my situation. You mentioned guilt and sabotage.
Yeah, I have a lot of fear. Sometimes I feel a little panicked because I can see I'm going in the wrong direction.
Mhm,
And I'm afraid that I'll never get it under control, that
mhm,
I'm just going to keep getting worse and worse.
mhm. All right. So 0 to 10, where are we starting from on that guilty sabotage feeling?
An 8.
That's pretty high. So let's all tap together. I'm going to say, don't use any words. Mhm. Just tap with me. Deep breath in. And exhale. Everybody else, I hope we're all doing this together. Whatever you have going on, use the tapping for you or send the energy to Pamela. Okay. Deep breath in. And exhale. You tapping with me? I don't see you tapping your head. Tap the top of your head. There you go, Pamela. All right. Eyebrow points. Deep breath in. And exhale. Side of the eye. Deep breath in. And exhale. And under the eye. Deep breath in. And exhale. Under the nose. Deep breath in. And exhale. And under the lower lip. Deep breath in. And exhale. And collarbone points. Now deep breath in. And exhale. And under the arms, deep breath in. And exhale. All right. And just check in right now, Pamela. Has anything shifted? Are you still feeling that 8?
It's some of the intensity is worn off. It's closer to a 6 now.
Mhm.
I don't have as much pain in my stomach when I think of the guilt.
Well, let's use some words now. And all of us, I think there's a bit of guilt involved in whatever we haven't changed yet. So let's make this a global Pam focused activity. And it's a different emotion that you're feeling. Just change the words, okay? Even though I'm feeling guilty.
Even though I'm feeling guilty.
And I know I sabotage myself.
And I know I sabotage myself.
It happens.
It happens.
I'm not the only one.
I'm not the only one.
And I'm willing to love and accept myself.
And I'm willing to love and accept myself.
Even though I'm feeling guilty about this.
Even though I'm feeling guilty about this.
And I'm afraid I'm going in the wrong direction.
And I'm afraid I'm going in the wrong direction.
That's just the way it is.
That's just the way it is.
And I completely accept myself.
And I completely accept myself.
Even though I'm so guilty.
Even though I'm so guilty.
And it's hard to think about changing.
And it's hard to think about changing.
When I've sabotaged myself this way before.
When I've sabotaged myself this way before.
I'm willing to love and accept myself anyway.
I'm willing to love and accept myself anyway.
And I open myself up to possibilities.
And I open myself up to possibilities.
And maybe now is the time.
And maybe now is the time.
And even if it isn't.
And even if it isn't.
I'm getting more curious about it.
I'm getting more curious about it.
And that's a good thing.
And that's a good thing.
Top of the head. I'm guilty.
I'm guilty.
And I know all the ways I'm guilty.
And I know all the ways I'm guilty.
About points. And it feels like I'm the only one.
And it feels like I'm the only one.
And I admitted it in front of all these people
And I admitted it in front of all these people.
inside of the eyes. And I'm sabotaging myself.
And I'm sabotaging myself.
And I've done it many times.
And I've done it many times.
I've got a big pattern going on
I've got a big pattern going on.
under the eye. And what will life be like without this guilty pleasure?
What will life be like without this guilty pleasure?
It could be horrible.
It could be horrible.
And I'm not sure I'm ready for that.
And I'm not sure I'm ready for that.
Under the nose. These goodies help me get through a day.
These goodies help me get through a day.
And I'm not sure what I replace them with yet.
And I'm not sure what I replace them with yet.
I'm guilty
I'm guilty
about not replacing these things.
about not replacing these things.
I haven't even tried enough.
I haven't even tried enough.
Collarbone points. I wonder what's really going on inside of me.
I wonder what's really going on inside of me.
Under the arms. I know what I want, but why am I sabotaging myself?
I know what I want, but why am I sabotaging myself?
Okay, take a stretch. Maybe shake, twist, whatever you feel like you need to do right now. Everybody else do it too. And thank you for helping Pamela by tapping. So everybody get your pen out right now. And if something came up around your issue or just a realization about feeling guilty or sabotaging yourself, very common. Yeah. I know one of the things that I am apt to do, which I will be paying attention to, is once I get my weight down to a certain level, I start eating again. I'm like, oh, I can get away with everything. No, you can't. No, you can't. If you really want it to last, you have to keep the program going, right? Yeah. Yeah. So that's one of the things I'm going to be mindful of, and actually enjoying the good stuff that comes from my change instead of trying to go back to where I was before, because we knew that didn't work so well. Yeah. So what are you noticing, Pamela? Are you still a 6, or did it shift a little bit?
It shifted. I'm a 4 now. I
Excellent.
was getting pretty emotional about it, but I kind of feel like some of that emotion is lessened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the best tapping takes place in the moment that you're most activated, or that you can get these feelings activated. So if tonight, after dinner, before bed, you're inclined to grab your goodies, work on it. And the other piece of grabbing the goodies and working on it is the step when that the activation comes down. So when you're feeling better, the next thing to test is throwing it away. So putting the wine down the sink, throwing away the bottle, putting the cookies or the crackers or the chocolate in the trash, which is that's a whole different thing, because you can feel better about it, but then the thought of throwing it away pisses you off or makes you sad, or like that's too valuable, I can't throw it away. Then you got
doesn't feel possible right now.
Yeah. So that's a good test for how to work with your cravings and your decisions. But the research has showed, and I tell everybody, don't treat yourself on something you're not ready to give up. Bother. You know the why, be involved with it, be curious about it, and then do the treatment. And you might need to work with a certified practitioner to really get all the aspects. That's the other thing. Sometimes you have blind spots, and a practitioner will help you see the blind spots to get you out of there. All right. How's everybody else?
So much.
Oh, you're very welcome. Oh, our time is just running out. I hate when this happens. I better go back to my share screen so I see what else I was going to show you guys today. All right. Let's see what else is here. Okay. I don't know if you need the basics again, but I'll go through them quickly so that you know how to work on yourself, choose something to work on and measure the subjective units of distress on a scale of 0 to 10. So measure before you do your tapping and really measure your distress. Create that even though setup statement, and that setup statement really needs to focus on the problem. That's how you activate the amygdala and the stress response, by calling it out. You do follow the even though statement with a statement of affirmation, and usually saying you love and accept yourself, or it's safe for this to change, or whatever. That works, but you don't tap on affirmations until you get your SUDS, that distress level, down below a 4. And ideally for beginners, don't even start the affirmations till you're down to a 0. Okay, you got that? Because that's like not really cleaning. That's like cleaning in the dark. Okay, cleaning in the dark doesn't work, or cleaning without your glasses on. Okay, all right. So follow the process. Tap each point 7 to 10 times. If a certain point feels good while you're tapping, you don't have to stop at 10. Keep going. Don't skip points if you're a beginner. Tap all of them. And when you've gotten to the end of the round, or if you do a few rounds, that's perfectly okay. But you want to pause and check in with yourself, rescore yourself, adjust your words, figure out what's coming up, and keep going until your SUDS gets to a 0. Okay? So your tips for best practice: you want to be specific. You want to have a way to measure so that you know a before and after. And also, whoops, sorry. Now we got to go back. Whoops. Oh, why isn't this working? Sorry about that. So we want before and after, and we want to know what your goal is too, so you know if you've hit it, right? You want to sit tall, feet on the ground. So sitting on beds, Indian style, isn't always the best way to position yourself, especially for a beginner. So get grounded, okay? Get hydrated, drink water or something relatively clean. So heavy caffeine, Mountain Dew, not a good idea. Alcohol, definitely not a good idea when you're doing your tapping. Tap both sides, left and right, top to bottom. But clinical research has shown that tapping one side works. That's what some of the studies used. So if you're a one-sided tapper, I tend to teach my students to tap both sides, but it will work on one side. Use simple reminder phrases, and keep in mind that certified practitioners can definitely help you and give you faster results. So I always use the acronym UDIN because, you know, change is dramatic. And when we're dealing with making changes in our lives, we want control. We don't want things to be unexpected. So tapping gives us control. We want to take out the drama and be able to set up some priorities for ourselves. We don't want to feel like we're alone in isolation. We benefit by connection, and we know that when a few people come together, the results amplify. And finally, no plan. If you don't have a plan, how can you act? But when your brain comes online, when you calm down and get clear, you can actually take action. All right. So what do we have for you today before you go? I just put some new groups up on my calendar. So this is the link to the calendar. As soon as I have the recording, you're all going to get an email with a special offer to be part of one of the 2 groups that I'm starting. And they start on the 18th. So there's 2 weeks till they start. There's a special offer that ends on Saturday. And if the class is filled before Saturday, you might not be able to get in. So I'm just saying, okay? But you'll get all the details. If you're a Gmail person, make sure you check your promotions, because there will be some links in that email and you might miss it, okay? I always direct you to eftinternational.org is a good site to get information. Levelshealth.com. The blog on this site is wonderful. And even if you don't have a blood sugar problem, the recipes and the information on levelshealth.com is absolutely wonderful. And they have a podcast. They have all sorts of things to help you be successful. And this was a missing piece in my my health plan. So I feel much more confident about my health having been connected to Levels Health. Okay. EnergyPsych.org. That's ASAP, or the Association for Comprehensive Energy Psychology. I'm a member of that. And I will be speaking at their meeting in Baltimore the first weekend in June. If anybody wants to meet up there, I would love to see you there. It's an excellent, huge meeting. People all over the world that do tapping. And if you're not aware of the tapping solution, they do the annual tapping summit. That's coming up at the end of February. You'll hear from me about that if you haven't done that before. And I have a few videos on YouTube, so you're always welcome to see what's there. So if you're not on my email list right now, I want to invite you to get involved with me. And there's an easy way. You can text EFT with Betsy to 22828 to get on the email list. How cool is that? You might be on my list already if you joined this program and gave me permission to put you on the list. But if you've been in my Monday group, you might not be on my email list because not everybody from there is on there. Okay. Also want to remind you guys that I have 2 books that are available on Amazon, and the comeback is also available in audiobook form. So if you are trying to take on a walking habit or a treadmill habit and you want something to entertain you while you're moving, that might be a good strategy for you too. So I always say, do something today that your future self will be thankful for. Think about that future self. Looking back and saying, you know what, on January 4th, that sweet person made a change or got clear about a change. That's what I want for all of you, whether you work with me or somebody else. So the time-sensitive offers, the 4-part EFT Reset Support Series, you can save $100 on it between now and Saturday, okay? Maximum 8 per group. There's noon and 7 p.m. Also, if you're one of the first 3 people to use the code, let's see, what was that code? I gotta look it up. I created a code for you. I think, I'll give it in the email. I think it's create something. I gotta look that up. Sorry about that. But the first 3 to use that code will get an additional $10 off. All right. Also, if you just want to work with me one-on-one, I will give you $50 off my regular 4-session rate. It's private. We schedule it to work with your time. And I only have room for 3 in my schedule maximum. So that's a first come, first serve thing. But we always start with a very quick phone call that's free to find out if you're the right kind of client for me. So there's no worry about that. Just send me an email or text if you'd like to look into that. And finally, we have a professional EFT practitioner training coming up February 3rd through 5th. You can save $100 plus on that right now. I also have a scholarship available for that, but you have to get your application in by the 15th, and the details about that are on my calendar page too. I think finally, I'll say, if your budget is really limited, I do have a couple students that are looking for people to work with. So if that's of interest to you, I'm happy to put you in touch. They do a good job, but they have limited time too. So we'll see if that all works out. Okay, so I might as well get back here. All right. It's good to see everybody. I'm sorry I went a little bit long, but you're still here. And if you want to continue, I will answer questions. This will be recorded if you have to go. So let's see what comes up from you guys. I'm happy to answer questions now.
Did you get the blood glucose monitor from your dietitian, or did you just go out to that website and get it yourself?
I went to that website and got it myself. So they have an arrangement with doctors. So you have to fill out a form, you know, to say what your situation is. And I think you have to, you know, you have to say you're doing it for wellness purposes, and they screen you, and then, you know, you pay your money. So the cost, I think, was like $195 for the 30-day monitor. And then I paid another, I think it was $119 for a year-long membership to Levels. So what it means is if I want to wear the monitor in March for example, to see how I've changed, I can go and get another monitor, but I don't have to pay the subscription again. And I could do it every month if I wanted to. But it's very interesting. They give you the Dexcom 6, which is the same monitor a lot of diabetics wear. It was fascinating to see how it works. You know, it was on my arm, but you can wear it on your belly. It doesn't hurt. You change the monitor every 10 days. So I did 3 of them, 3 change outs, and sometimes alarms go off. And it really levels. I think diabetics are told not to go over 140 and not to go, I don't know what the lower one is, but levels for wellness purposes, and actually it's research based, encourages everybody to stay between 110 at the top and 70 at the bottom. I don't think I ever went below 70 ever. And yeah, I spiked way above 110, and it's about how long you stay above 110, you know, so it sends you alarms. It shows you little things on your phone. It shows you a rocket. It says, hey, you're spiking. The other cool thing, when I mentioned exercise, in real time, about an hour to an hour and a half after you eat is when the glucose goes up. And if you walk just 10 minutes, it comes right down. It's incredible what an evening walk after dinner can do. And it's frustrating now this time of year, you know, in the summertime, you always go and walk the dog after dinner or do things because there's just light outside. But I'm definitely a couch potato this time of year. I'm under a blanket with 2 dogs. Usually they don't want to go out either. So that means I have to eat better. And I'm okay to do that. I'm willing to do that because foods that stabilize my blood sugar, I know what they are now, and they work for me. So I don't have to worry so much about that spike. I also found that eating smaller dinner and bigger lunch is a good idea for me. So that's what I've been doing too. And I continue the intermittent fasting still, because I found that's not so hard. I don't really get that hungry now that I have the habit in place. So
So
when
you don't, you still, when you say intermittent fasting, do you mean you still fast for the 24 hours on Wednesday every week?
Yeah. And the other days, I usually don't eat after 7, and you know, between 7 p.m. and like 11 a.m. I try not to eat. So I don't have breakfast anymore. I have like a brunch.
Okay.
But you know, there's days when, you know, somebody invites you out for breakfast or something like that, or a holiday. The holiday totally messed up my, yeah, I went back to my old ways, and of course I gained a few pounds back, and that's just what happened, you know. But I'm much more hopeful about this year ahead now because I've had the experience. That experience changes your beliefs, and that's the beauty of it. Yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah, Betsy, I'm wondering, like, in past tapping classes where you've talked about the meridians that are associated with the points that we're tapping, how can I learn more about that?
And your reason for wanting to learn them? I mean,
I find this interesting. I don't necessarily want to be certified and, you know, do this as a career or anything like that. I just, for my own personal knowledge, I want to know more.
Yeah. You know, I have a little chart, but you know, to be a practitioner, it really doesn't, it almost sets us up to make assumptions about certain things. But I can share that with you. I can see if I can provide that in follow up to this class too, so you can see, but I don't put too much emphasis on it. So for example, this point under the eye is stomach.
Yeah.
And if you have issues of worry and trust, oftentimes it shows up in your digestion, believe it or not. But that's not always the case. So we got to be careful about how we talk about the points. Sometimes they're relevant, sometimes they're just interesting, right? Any other questions before we go on to life? I'm feeling so much better. Thank you for for tapping with me. I think it really does make a difference. I was with a cancer group before you guys, so I've had a busy day. And I think I need a nap. Maybe I need a nap now, but it could have been a whole lot worse. Thank you, tapping. All right, so I hope to see you guys in the new year. If you have questions about what's coming up, watch for the email. I'll have an email for you very soon to follow up and wrap up. Okay? All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Betsy. Appreciate it.
Thank you.